So what happens when the very soldiers you armed and trained become your single biggest problem? Well, today we're diving into a high-stakes management crisis in the Middle East, one that shines a massive spotlight on a super dangerous idea, the proxy paradox. Okay, picture this. You're trying to manage 5 different street gangs. Now, they all work for you, technically, but they also kind of want to kill each other over who gets to be top dog. That's pretty much the nightmare Ismail Ghaani, the commander of Iran's powerful IRGC, is living right now. He's landed in Baghdad with what seems like a simple message for his allied militias. Guys, put down the guns. The only problem? They're really not in the mood to listen.
And this whole mess is the perfect example of what we're calling the proxy paradox. It's that critical moment when your greatest strategic asset, the proxy forces you spent years arming and training to push your agenda, suddenly becomes your biggest liability. The very power you gave them is exactly what makes them so hard, maybe even impossible to control.
Now, make no mistake, what we're seeing here isn't just some minor disagreement. This is the potential splintering of the so-called axis of resistance. And the crazy part? This isn't an attack from the outside. No, this is a fight brewing from within. And poor Commander Ghaani is stuck right in the middle of it.
So let's get into it. Ghani's first massive headache is what we're calling the disarmament split. His number one job is to get these militias to lay down their arms. But on that point, they are completely, and I mean completely, divided.
Yeah, this split really boils down to 2 totally different ideas about what the future should look like. On one side, you've got the factions who want to go legit. They want to integrate into the Iraqi state, basically trading their guns for a seat at the political table and long-term power. But on the other side, you have the hardliners. And to them, giving up their weapons isn't just a bad strategy. It's a betrayal of everything they've fought and died for. It's giving up all their leverage.
And all this fighting over guns? Well, it leads us straight to Ghani's second problem, the sanctions hustle. Because at the end of the day, money is power. And these militias have gotten really, really good at building their own financial empires. That makes them a whole lot less dependent on Iran.
So how'd they do it? Well, they've basically taken control over huge chunks of the Iraqi economy. We're talking border crossings, black markets, even getting their hands on government contracts. This whole setup creates a self-funding machine that gets around international sanctions. And for Ghaani, that's a total nightmare. Why? Because you can't just threaten to turn off the money tap to get them in line when you're not the one controlling the tap anymore.
So, as if trying to manage guns and money wasn't enough of a mess, Ghaani has a third headache, the Kurdish threat. You know the classic move when your crew's fighting amongst themselves, right? You find them a common enemy to unite against. But here's the twist. In this case, even that might not work. Launching a ground operation against Kurdish groups is a huge, huge gamble. Sure, it might bring everyone together for a little while, but it could also bring the whole house of cards crashing down. You're risking massive regional instability, serious international backlash, and burning through resources you can't afford to lose. The solution could easily end up being way worse than the original problem.
Which really just brings us to a fundamental question, doesn't it? If you spend 2 whole decades teaching a group how to fight, how to be a weapon, can you ever really, truly convince them to just put that weapon down?
And the answer to that question, well, it points to the fundamental flaw in Ghani's whole plan. Because sometimes, the very weapon you spent so much time building ends up pointing right back at you.
There's a saying that sums it up perfectly. You can build a weapon, but you can't always decide which way it points. As soon as you give a proxy force that much power, that much independence, you lose absolute control. And that, right there, is the very essence of the proxy paradox.
So it leaves us with this final, nagging question of control. When the tools of your foreign policy, the very groups you created, start to develop a will of their own, who is really in charge? Who is managing whom? It's the question that defines this whole paradox. And for Commander Ghaani, finding the answer is going to shape the future of the entire region.